Welcome back to Skyward, the podcast that brings you behind the scenes of the aviation and aerospace industry. I'm your host, Pilot Mercedes, and today we're joined by Alan Ash once again to talk about Mercy and Angel flights.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelts. Thank you.
Quick reintroduction, Al, you are a commercial and instrument-rated pilot from the States, and you moved to Canada years later.
Right.
But while you were in the States, you had a lot of great experiences as a general aviation pilot. So if you don't mind highlighting, what are Mercy and Angel flights?
Yeah.
So that people understand.
Surely. Angel flights are flights that pilots take to help people that are underserved. Somebody might have a medical condition that prevents them from being able to get transportation to a hospital when they need transportation to get to a hospital.
Right.
And so and that's one particular thing. They need to be stable, they need to be ambulatory, and have a medical condition. So there's some criteria used in terms of being a passenger. And so there's a group. Angel Flight is a group in the Southeast U.S. that has, I think it's around 700 pilots.
Yeah.
There was back when I was doing it.
They still had that on the
pilots.
website. I looked at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, good. That's good. I'm glad. No, it's getting not less.
Mhm.
So the pilots generally what they do is they donate their aircraft, their time, their fuel, their maintenance costs. Everything involved in owning an airplane, and to do this on a volunteer basis to transport these patients where they need to be. And sometimes the care that they need is so specialized that it may not be that close to them. So it may be a flight that's 3 hours away, which in Florida, generally, that would mean, you're on the road for 7, 8 hours possibly, if you're driving. So Angel Flight is I'll say a band of pilots, I guess I should say. Usually say a band of somebody, it's not necessarily a complimentary thing, but in this case, it's a band of people that are philanthropic in terms of donating their time and energy and everything that's involved in getting a patient to where they need to be so they can get the care they need.
Right.
So that's kind of what that's all about. And one thing, if anybody's interested in doing it, all the expenses involved are tax deductible.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's a nice financial benefit that you're giving actually gives back a little bit in some way.
Yeah.
But the aspect of just doing this, I could say that it profoundly affected my life in ways that were unexpected. Although I do have some
Yeah.
stories that I could tell you about ways that kind of experience had affected me before. So it's not a surprise to me that I was attracted to doing some of that.
Let's get into that a little bit more. So when did you get connected to Mercy Flights? Was it before or after you bought the aircraft, referencing our previous episode together?
Yeah, it was after.
It was after.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
afterwards. Yeah, I was commercially rated and instrument rated, and that's when I was more comfortable doing it. I really wanted to make sure that my training and skills were, reliable, and I felt confident that I would be good and I could meet unexpected situations to do it. So that's what kind of it was a timing thing, but it was also getting the introduction. And so there were a couple other pilots that were friends of mine that we flew out of the same Gainesville Regional Airport. And so they were doing it. And so come on, Al, you got to do this.
Yeah.
This is great. It'll change your life and, you'll really enjoy it. And the job that I had in Gainesville was a fairly demanding job. So I had to sort of navigate using my time in that way so that I could spend a day off of work because I had basically had to take a day off of work to do it
Yeah.
and possibly an overnight and then come back the next day. So I kind of set a goal for myself to do this once every quarter. And
Which is a very generous achievement and goal.
yeah, but like I say, it was a labor of love because I love the act of giving and I love the act of flying. And so
Yeah.
it was a way to give to myself and it was a way to give back, to the community as well.
And then, so you got introduced to the organization through friends and fellow colleagues at the airport,
Yeah,
through just the oh, what was the airport you were at again?
Gainesville Regional Airport.
Gainesville.
Yeah, GV.
Yeah, GMV.
Yeah.
Flew there a couple times myself. It
Oh,
was
good.
lovely.
It's a great little airport.
Um, but so you were connected during that time, but was there any experiences before that introduction
Yes.
that kind of started you on this path?
Yes, very definitely, yeah. So this goes way back to my earlier days, when I was about 17, and, I mentioned in the previous episode that, my dad and I used to fly together a lot, and so, when I was about 17 years old, there were 2 guys that, were close to our family, that, one was late 20s and one was in his late 40s,
Okay.
and both of them had terminal cancer. And so, we would take them up, and I can't say we took them up regularly, but we got them up, I think once, maybe I know we got them up once, and it may have been twice because they enjoyed it so much,
Oh,
and, they were both, not they weren't doing well, and it was the time was drawing near, and so, I remember the first time we took, one of the guys, the 49-year-old guy, we took him up, and, we just, we were just flying around for an hour. It was my dad and I, and, we flew around, and I don't think we stopped. We just kind of blew circles in the sky, and
oh,
that sort of thing. We didn't land. We came back, and, he got out, and he was very frail at that point. I mean, if that guy weighed 120 pounds, he was a big guy. He was 6'3".
yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
big man, and he was a hulk of a man,
Yeah.
at his healthiest. But in this situation, he was real thin.
Mhm.
And, it was tough, and his hair was a bit amiss because, he just
Right.
that's not what you're looking after,
No.
when you're in that situation. But he came back and he was smiling like I never saw anybody smile when he got out of that airplane. And he got out of that airplane, he stood up and he stood under the wing as soon as he got out there and he went like that. And he was like he was Superman. And he was you could tell it just completely changed his focus for that moment.
Yeah.
It meant so much to him that he could do it. And then, a couple weeks later, he passed. So, that was a really nice moment.
Mhm.
So that really had an effect on me to see the impact that it had on him.
Mhm.
Then after that, we took another guy up, and he was 29, and he had cancer as well, had terminal cancer, and he was a member of our family, sort of outside the
Mhm.
immediate family, but a really wonderful, wonderful man. And so we took him up, and he was asking all kinds of questions. And you could tell he
Mhm.
was just totally immersed,
Yeah.
total immersion in the experience of
I
flying.
thought.
No, we're flying around. We did fly him up to Frederick, landed, walked around, had like something to eat,
Yeah.
and then got in the airplane and came back. And, he just when he came down, it was a similar reaction to the other
Yeah.
guy. And, he was just beaming, and he was just couldn't stop talking about how profound, sort of looking at the world down below. And, this is a pretty busy area that we were flying in
Right.
when we first took off, so a lot of traffic. And, he said, "It's like, the traffic all look like little ants." And I think we
Yeah.
all go through that experience when we fly. It's like looking down there, it's like, "Oh my god," and it kinda makes you feel like, "Well, how significant am I amongst all these people in this massive, planet that we live on, this
Right?
beautiful planet that's so lush." And he all the way home, he just couldn't stop talking about it, and you could tell he was totally outside of whatever his condition was. He was just totally into it, and it was so nice. And my dad and I were just we just couldn't help but, sort of bask in,
And
his
their joy.
yeah, that's exactly right, yeah. So I think that really fueled a lot of things for me, and as my future self.
Yeah.
When I was 17, I think I'd kind of built, that really kind of helped me, in looking and building some sort of relationship with the community and trying to help people in any way I could. Something that happened later on in life, and I was probably around 40 when this happened, but, my dad had Parkinson's, and he had gotten it like 15 years before. And it was a slow, steady,
Yeah.
progressive thing that really kinda took him under, but he wound up being in a nursing home towards the end. And, so me and a couple of other guys had a musical trio, a little jazz trio that we would play in clubs and whatnot. On the weekend, we weren't playing 6 nights a week at that point. We all had jobs and families, so we would go and play for those people. And, my dad was, beaming as my son,
Oh,
he's very proud and, you know,
another
in his
special
condition.
moment.
Yeah, and that's another way of giving, that kind of thing. And so I kind of do the same thing even now with our ukulele group. We go to senior homes, retirement homes, Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
and you just see the impact it has on these people because music's the last thing to go.
Mhm.
So,
I did not know that.
yeah, yeah, it is. They say that's the last part of the memory to go, and I believe it. Just what I've seen so many times when I look at some of these people, like they look like they're not quite. The lights are on,
Not yeah,
lights are on, but nobody's home kind of thing. But they're um,
the music
they're
a
taking it in.
spark.
Oh yeah, we'll be doing a tune, and they recognize the tune. We're doing old classics that they would know, and you see lips moving, eyes still closed, or you might see a teardrop, kind of thing coming from. It's triggering memories for them
Yeah.
of the age that they were listening to that music, and it's so that gives me more joy than any paid gig that I ever had as a musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do that kind of thing. So it's like I say, I'm sorry to go into such a long thing, but you can
Uh,
kind of see why my heart was into the
Of
Angels.
course. And it's carried on throughout regardless of aviation, but into everything else that
Yeah,
you've done.
yeah, yeah,
So that's really special that you're able to give specifically those two family friends
yeah,
a, an experience of a literal lifetime
yeah. That's
and
exact.
to see them completely forget about their worries, forget about their cares, and just focus on something different, something new, something exciting
Yeah, you totally got it.
that
That's totally.
they definitely never forgot.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure, maybe their passing was a little bit easier having that to sort of kind of serve as a bit of
Mhm.
a bridge, to the final breath.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So how long were you a volunteer pilot with the Mercy Flight Angel Flight
Yeah.
organization in the
Yeah.
Southeast?
Yeah. Well, we moved to Canada in July 2004, and I moved for a job.
Right.
And so I think my first experience was probably my first actual flight was probably a year and a half before that.
Okay.
So, and I think I accomplished my goal of flying once every 3 months. So I think it was around 6 flights that I had done. But I so wish that I had done it much, much, much earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Such a rich experience. So that's in terms of tips for
Yeah.
people that are thinking about aviation and,
Mhm.
haven't really thought about doing it, that's a really wonderful experience to do, and it's a great organization.
Mhm.
And you have, once you get on the schedule, they give you flexibility in terms of, if you need
Okay.
to cancel because something comes
Yeah.
up or whatever.
So then some practical questions. Once you've signed up and I guess is there an approval process with the organization?
Well,
Or at least back then?
back then, I think you'd mentioned previously about a 250-hour requirement, and I think that
Yeah.
was a requirement. But I don't remember taking any, I didn't do a check ride or anything else. I
Okay.
think maybe my credentials at that point, because I was commercially and,
Mhm.
an instrument rated pilot, I guess, they were happy.
So once they said, "Yes, we would love to have you as a volunteer pilot. Your aircraft meets our standards and insurance and all of these different qualifications." What was the communication back and forth and setting up these flights?
Yeah, at the time, it would be a telephone call. They
Okay.
would call and say, "Are you available?" And it
Mm.
was usually within maybe 3 days to 2 weeks down
Okay.
the road, and so,
So it wasn't
make
always a lot of time to prepare or
no,
move things around.
no, and often there might have been I think there was 1 or 2 times where somebody couldn't do it, and they had planned to do it that day, so they would call and say, "Can you do it
Okay.
today?" And if yeah, I don't think I ever got to take them up on that because my days were not, I had to
As
really kind of plan
flexible.
through the day. Yeah. But I think I remember one of my friends the guy who told me about it and he gave me a big push to do it. I think he took those when he could because he was a realtor. So he
Okay.
had more flexibility, I
Yeah.
think, in getting that done.
That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. I think these days, I think they're very automated, and they send you emails every day, and they say, "These are the flights that are listed. If you want one,
Mm.
take the flight number and email us back and let us know, and we'll put you on the
Hmm.
schedule."
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So then, knowing that these patients had various special needs because of whatever conditions that were connected to them, was there any kind of thought process, qualifications, or concerns that you needed to know or needed to do as the pilot transporting this individual or family from point A to point B that was not normal to a regular flight, let's say?
Yeah. I would say there's one in particular. I mean, one of a couple of the criteria was, they need to be ambulatory. They need to be able to move. They need to be able to get into the airplane, and sometimes that can be difficult.
Mhm.
It's like getting into a sports car. Some of
Hmm.
these airplanes, you might climb
Yeah.
up on the wing, and you really have to. So that's not easy for some people, some older people.
No, so did you have to have, like, a certain amount of strength to make sure you could help them into the
Yeah.
aircraft or mobility more so yourself?
Yeah.
Would
I
be
mean,
kind of a requirement?
yeah, I think. I don't know, these days, I mean, I'm in fairly pretty good shape, so I think I
Mhm.
would be okay now even to do it,
Mhm.
and I was in much better shape back then,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it required some of that because,
Mm.
you're crawling around, you gotta put the front seat up and some of
Yeah.
these people were good-sized people.
Mhm.
So, often there would be like, you might need some help doing it. You might get somebody, if some people would come with another person and you take the
Mhm.
passenger too, so they could help too if there would
Okay.
be that kind of situation. The only thing that I would think about that would be a little bit of a concern to me was if they had weakened immune systems
Mhm.
and they could potentially become infected somehow with coming in contact with somebody or something that might worsen their condition,
Mhm.
either right then and there or
Yeah.
down the road. So that was part of it, and then they may have a condition that these people medical people may not have been aware of that made them
Mm.
infectious to others around them,
Right.
including me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So did for just I mean, I guess for your own safety, but especially weaker immune systems on their side, did you wipe down? Did you try and clean your aircraft on the inside at
Yeah,
least at the very
definitely.
much to reduce the risk of any possibility of
Yeah. Yeah.
hurting their situation
Yeah.
for
Wherever they, like in the back where, maybe just on the handrest back there
Mhm.
and, on the seat and on the back, generally I would do something to go through and just take a handy wipe or something and do the best I could with that.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people actually look pretty good. They looked
Okay.
normal. They didn't seem, it wasn't obvious to me what the condition was. And we weren't
Mhm.
told what the
Mhm.
condition was. We just knew that they met the eligibility requirements. So we got the call and off we go.
Okay.
But as a precautionary measure, sometimes I put them
Mhm.
in the front, sometimes I let them fly.
Aw, so
Put their hand on the
yeah.
yoke.
So you not only gave them, like, a taxi ride, for example, but you also gave some of them another experience of a
Yeah,
lifetime.
right. Oh, man, you see the light up. Anytime you probably know that experience.
Yep.
You hear you fly, and they put their,
Oh my gosh, I'm holding the aircraft in my hand.
oh, I'm flying, I'm flying.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's very
yeah,
special.
that became a bit of a tradition, for maybe for the short-lived time that I
Mhm.
was doing it for that year and a half. I would say, "You wanna fly?" And some people, No, I don't wanna fly."
You gave them the option.
Yeah, yeah,
You gave them the option, and
yeah,
they enjoyed looking out the window then and
yeah. I mean, you
just
could always hold the
experiencing it.
yoke and tell them,
Yeah.
"Just here's what I'm doing." And usually,
Mhm.
we're in a flight plan, so
Mhm.
if we had turned 90 degrees or something, then I'm turning 90 degrees and they have their
Aw,
hand on the wheel and
that's
we're
cool.
doing it together.
Yeah,
And it, takes their mind off of whatever
mhm,
concerns they have about themselves or
absolutely.
maybe the nervousness in flying. Some of these people
Yeah,
never flew before.
and that's a big deal, going from never flying before to flying in a small
Yeah.
aircraft versus flying in a commercial
Right.
aircraft.
Just feel like you're flying in a living
Yeah,
room, it's like you can't see anything.
that's very special.
Yeah. It was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. And my only regret is that I didn't do
You
it
d
sooner.
do it sooner, and I guess didn't get to do it as much as or as long as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, what was one of the longest flights? So was a lot of them, well, I guess rephrasing the question, were they more short flights? Because obviously you were based in Florida,
yeah,
or were there a variation of longer flights even out of state?
yeah. None of mine were out of state.
Okay.
Um, and actually, Gainesville, Florida is a university town, has 5 hospitals. So a
Wow.
lot of them were to go pick somebody up
And
and bring
bring
them
them
back,
back.
and then take
Okay.
after their time's done, and then take them home.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was kind of a regional medical center,
Well, that's definitely handy.
and I think it still is. I think it's like that
Mhm.
now.
But it was mostly just that you weren't going to other places in Florida or institutes and
Well, the other place is to pick up people,
yeah,
Boca Raton
but it was always bringing them back to
to Gainesville.
Gainesville.
I think so. There may have been a couple that, it seems to me I went to Fort Lauderdale, and I took somebody from Pensacola, so I had to go from Florida to Pensacola and then back down, to Fort Lauderdale for
Mhm.
patient care, and then flying back,
Okay.
and then fly back to Gainesville to
Mhm.
go to my home bed.
Yeah. Homeward bound.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but do you have any other notes or anything that I haven't asked or haven't thought of that's
In
connected?
relation to
Yeah, in relation to the Mercy and Angel flights?
No, I just really recommend it. I think it
Yeah.
was a really fun things to do. And, one of the things that think I may have mentioned before was that, one of the things that you can do when you go flying is find a purpose in every
Yeah.
flight. If your flight's to go get a hamburger, well, that's good. If
Yeah.
you got a special place to do it, that's great. If you want to do some training, you want to
Mhm.
stall some slow flights, some steep turns, chandelles, lazy eights, that's great too. But if you don't have anything in mind and you want to have a purpose in your flying that's going to be really gratifying,
Mhm.
that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, along that line, do you have any advice for someone who is interested in having a greater purpose to their flying? What should they be thinking about, looking for? Qualifications will show a slide of all the qualifications that's on the website, but
Right, right, right.
is there anything that you would say either preparing yourself for?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, get to know somebody in the organization. And maybe if you can find somebody who's like a mentor and can kind of show you the ropes and understand kind of what it is you're dealing with, what the protocols are, so you're not going in just like trying to figure it out yourself.
Mm,
Because I didn't really feel like I got a lot of guidance in that regard.
okay, that's very
I saw
interesting.
from the organization
Yeah,
itself. I got it from my buddy who had been, using
in the
the organization.
organization, but not directly from the organization.
Yeah, I didn't need it. I mean, I imagine if I were to call them, I would say, I'd say, "Hey, I need some guidance here.
Hmm.
What do I need to know before I take my first flight?" And I didn't really need that because I had him. So I'm not trying to be critical of the organization at
Yeah,
all. In fact, I thought the organization was great. They're wonderful people. These people, all volunteers, and just, they're just, from the top down, bottom up, they're just really, you could tell their hearts and
caring
passion
people.
is in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
Well, thank you so much for coming on
Yeah,
for
my
another
pleasure. I love it.
episode of Skyward.
It's
Really
great.
appreciate it and all of the insights and really highlighting this very important aspect of flying that not everyone necessarily knows about.
Yeah. Yeah. I was surprised back then even what a hidden little gem it was that,
Yeah,
you didn't walk into regional airports and look in their terminals and see, posters,
yeah.
you know.
So thank you so much for coming back on.
You. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So much fun.
And that's all for today's episode on the incredible work of Angel Flight Southeast and Mercy Flight Southeast. I'm truly inspired about how these organizations provide free medical care and flights to those in need, with their volunteer pilots at the very heart of their mission. If you're interested in joining as a pilot or want to learn more about getting involved, I encourage you to visit their website at mercyflightse.org. angelflightse.org/become-a-pilot or angelflightse.org/become-a-pilot. If you know of another branch of the Air Charity Network or have a personal experience as a volunteer or recipient of their care, I would love to hear from you. Share your stories in the comments below. Thanks for joining me, and remember, fly high, dream big, and keep exploring the skies. I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. To those listening on Apple, Spotify, or other listening platforms, please remember to follow and hit the notification button so you'll never miss an episode. Check out the Skyward YouTube channel to watch the video recording of each episode. And don't forget to follow on all social media platforms to stay up to date. Lastly, if you have a story or know someone who does from the aviation aerospace industry, email the podcast at info@skywardpodcast.com. Your support means the world. Thanks for tuning in.